Are we on
Yes.
YouTube? Yes. Okay. So we are already on YouTube. I think the holiday threw Rodrigo off. That's why he's here. So let me just close this or just double audio. Okay. We are live on YouTube. Bear with me, guys. I'm not as good with this technological stuff, but let me just get this recording. So we're going to start recording. 3, 2, 1. So, all right. Welcome back to another Crypto Bonds Q&A. Today, we're going to be talking about government intervention, specifically bailouts. So we're already 10 minutes in, so let's go without any further ado, straight to the presentation with you guys. Let me know you can see my screen.
Yes. We can see
Yes?
your files, I think.
My files or a disclaimer?
No, we can see files.
That's the wrong screen. Hold on, share the screen. Oh, I see. What's the wrong one? What about now?
Yes.
Okay, so let me start this. Okay. So we need to edit this live, Cora. People should be seeing files. Okay, so welcome again to another Crypto Bonds Q&A. Every presentation, everything we do needs to begin with a disclaimer. Nothing that we produce in any platform is to be considered financial, tax, or legal advice. Everything we produce is just for entertainment purpose, nothing more. So this Q&A, Crypto Vagabonds, occurs every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. Of course, you can always interact with us in Clubhouse, Tuesday to Friday at 7 a.m. Eastern Time. Forget about Monday. Now, you can also interact with us on YouTube, Instagram, and X. So today I want to try to explain to you guys why government intervention, or specifically bailouts, do not work. What's wrong with them? So, and in order to show these to you guys and demonstrate that they do not work, I'm going to be using 2 depressions. The 1920 to 1921 depression, which is one that people do not talk much about, because this one was dwarfed by the 1929 to 1939 Great Depression, which where the New Deal came from. And we're also going to be talking about the New Deal, and then we're going to be talking about our conclusion on how bailouts do not work or government intervention for. So the first depression I'm going to be talking about is the one from 1920, and those were the economic conditions post the First World War. So a lot of people coming from the war, a lot of people demanding a lot of things, and guess what? They were not there because people who were supposed to be working, they were fighting at war, and when they came back from war, the market was geared towards producing weapons and bullets and not things that the regular consumer needs. So that incredible demand for goods when the goods were not there caused a deflation first, because money was pursuing different things and there were things not available. So money became more valuable. So there was a significant deflation which occurred, putting pressure on business and customers. And that shock is what caused the depression of 1920. There was also a sharp rise on employment. People coming back from war, they need jobs, but guess what? There were no jobs for them. And though the economy began to recover, employment kind of persists. This is actually a picture of families looking for jobs. And you had this most creative sign here. I know 3 trades. I speak 3 languages. I fought for 3 years, the war. I have 3 children and no work for 3 months. But I only want 1 job. So people looking for jobs and didn't have a job was a very bad time in America. The whole sales declined by 36.8%, on industrial production fell by 30%, and the car production decreased by 60%. So you can see how the numbers are really shocking. There was a very bad depression, 1920. Many businesses that managed to avoid bankruptcy, they still saw a drastic 75% decline in profits. So what did the government do? What was the response for the government in 1920? Well, 1920, we had a president who did not know much about the economy, and he said, listen, I don't understand the economy. I have no clue what to do. And until I know what to do, I'm going to do nothing. So that's what he did. Minimum government intervention. And they say the market will take care of itself. And that depression lasted about a year. Some say a year and a half. Was a very short-lived depression. When you compare to the next depression, 1930s, also known as the Great Depression, what we had numbers very significant as well. The Great Depression lasts from 1929 to late 1930s, much longer than the Depression of 1920. Now, I'm advocating that the one that lived a very short period with very drastic numbers was because of minimal government intervention. The president did not know what to do, and if he did not know what to do, he did nothing. So you can see here, the US stock market crashed on October 29, 1929, known also as Black Tuesday, which initiates the global economic crisis. The crisis of 1920 is also known as the Forgotten Depression. It was forgotten because it was very short-lived when compared to the Great Depression. Now, the collapse of the stock market led to a lot of loss. And of course, people lost confidence on the financial system, and they also went and withdrew their money from their bank accounts. It was also known as the bank run. When people withdraw their money from the banks, guess what? They find out that the banks do not have their money, and then the banks go bankrupt. Now, industry, particularly agriculture, had overproduced. And of course, when you have too much of something, guess what? The price collapsed because there's too much supply pursuing demand, which was not there. So that collapsing price also reduced incomes for the people. Many consumers and businesses were deeply in debt, and when their income declined, they were unable to repay their loans, leading to a further economic decline. So unemployment rates went to 25%, and with unemployment, they had poverty and homelessness. People didn't have places to live because they couldn't afford to pay for their homes. Now, the international trade also plummeted. There was also, I'll say, the Second World War was in the making, so international trade plummeted, and that caused for the economic conditions to get even worse, and that contributes to a political instability and the rise of totalitarian regimes such as Adolf Hitler. So what was the answer for the government for the crisis of 1930s? Government intervention and the New Deal. By the way, a lot of the things on the New Deal is still lives today. So that government intervention has survived nearly a century in some cases. So in response to the ongoing crisis, the President Franklin Roosevelt introduced the New Deal from 1933 to 1938. But believe me, a lot of conditions in terms of the New Deal remains alive today. So they create programs, public works, projects, financial reforms, and regulations. And guess what? The crisis persists for almost 10 years. The New Deal's exercise of government intervention while providing relief may have prolonged the economic recovery by interfering with the market dynamics and delaying the self-correction process seen on the Depression of 1920. That's my advocation here. If the governments do not intervene, yes, the numbers are going to be horrible. Yes, it's going to be a very bitter medicine. But to me, the cure or the end of the crisis will also come much faster. The government intervention, in my view, keeps on prolonging because it sends wrong signals to the market, and the market does not know how to behave. And when I mean the market, I mean individuals, I mean entrepreneurs, because without the government intervention, if there's unemployment, people are going to find problems that need to be solved. They're going to become more entrepreneurial. They're going to find ways to support their families. Now, if the government continues to intervene, that signal of what needs to be produced is not there. And then you have cases of overproduction, as we saw here. So industry may overproduce. The same thing happened in Venezuela when the government overtook the petrol industry. They decide what needs to be produced. The same thing we saw happening with the Great Leap Forward when China decides to take over agriculture, it creates famine. So in my view, doing nothing works. And the best example that I have of that are those two crises. So government intervention to me does not work. It will prolong the pain. So I'm going to where we were here. And that's my view. Now, we have the same thing for the crisis of 2008. We have government bailouts, interventions during economic crisis, and in my view, it does not work. The market has the cure. And I believe the crisis that we are in now, by the way, spoiler to you guys, we are working on a video. I believe we are already in economical crisis or an economical recession. The thing is, those dates are announced by the NBER, and they only come available after the recession is already here, or after it passed, they decide to say when it started. And today we are in the beginning of September. I believe the recession is already here. I'm making a video explaining to you guys why we are already in a recession, what indicators determines that we are in a recession, and those indicators are already there. And I hope there'll be no government intervention. So the reason why bailouts do fail to solve is because they offer a short-term solution for a long-term problem. They encourage companies to take big risks, and eventually these companies stop innovating, expecting to be rescued by the government anyway. So the biggest issue that you have with bailouts is you're rewarding companies to make mistakes. You're rewarding companies not to be careful, and you're rewarding corruption. That's the most important. If people within companies do not have the element of profit as their motivation, they will fail. If a company cannot be profitable, that company should be taken out of business, unless that company can convince someone on the private sector to invest on them. Without that, a company should go out of business. Banks are no different. When bakeries go bankrupt, no one thinks of asking the government to save bakeries. When restaurants go out of business, no one says, listen, we need that restaurant to be working. Let's ask the government to bail those out. No, profit needs to be the rule to keep a business operational. Now, when that does not happen, when banks make mistakes, they are into debt and they cannot pay for their debt, they should go down. Bailouts tell the banks that they can do whatever they want and they're always going to get rewarded. And once again, a bailout is just printing more money and it's depreciation the purchasing power of those who have nothing to do with the problem. So, as I mentioned, they give large corporations a very unfair advantage over smaller business. Like I say, bakeries, restaurants, they don't get saved when they go bust. And of course, taxpayers are the ones paying for this, and they have no benefits at all. There's no benefit for the taxpayer. And you can see here, I love this image. Bail out, please, more, keep it coming, more. That is the incentive that you create when governments are allowed to print money and save companies that have made mistakes. So let's give a little recap. I just mentioned that there was a depression between 1920 to 1921, which is also known as the Forgotten Depression because no one talks about it. And in my view, that depression was short-lived. And remember, this was a time without internet. Things took a long time to come into effect. And a year and a half in 1920 is a very short term for depression. And you can see that less than 10 years later, you have a depression that actually lasts 10 years in comparison to the previous one. And to me, the biggest difference is on this depression, the president did nothing. And the second depression, the government intervened and continued to intervene, and depression prolonged to be about 10 years. And that intervention was called the New Deal. A lot of elements of the New Deal are still alive today. If you want to find out more which elements of the New Deal are still alive today, I can make a video and presentation about that. And I also explain why I believe bailouts not work, because it gives the wrong incentives to companies that have a large amount of capital and they continue to make mistakes and they pay very large salary for their CEOs and so on. And the thing is, oh, we made a mistake, don't worry. The government's going to give us money, we are fine. So in the end, in my view, the taxpayer, the middle class, the hard workers are the one paying for this. My advocation is let the free market take care of the crisis, and it's going to be short-lived, and I think it's going to benefit more of the population. So if you want to be in control of your money, and controller for crypto. Consider joining the academy. Link for that on the description below. And now I'm gonna yield the mic and hear what you guys have to say, what questions you guys may have, if you agree or disagree with me. So let me stop sharing and hear what you guys have to say. And again, the holiday, I think, blew people off. Where's Rodrigo? He got blown off by the holiday again.
I posted in the chat the names of the presidents in that time, because I'm not sure which one is the one who didn't allow, like, he didn't do anything in the depression of 1920.
So I think here
One
this
is
is the president.
Republican, the other one is Democrat. So, but I'm not sure.
November 2nd, 1865, August 1923, was then president of the United States, serving from 1921 until his death in 1923. No, it was not this one, but was not Woodrow Wilson. No. How you have two presidents? No, I think it was Warren Gamaliel, because it was not Woodrow Wilson. Let me just find out for you, Corin. I also forgot his name, but it's not Woodrow Wilson. Wilson is known for something else. Look, I used to know his name. Anyway, information I'll share with you guys, it is on a book called The Forgotten Depression. Presidents of USA list. I think the actual president has died or taken off office, and he was a vice president who became a president at that time, if my memory is correct. I read this book a long time ago. Let me see here. 19.
And it's
Yes,
true that,
Warren G.
yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
Mm-hmm.
Was Warren?
Yeah, Warren G. Harding. Yes.
And they both died like a couple years after being president.
Yeah. So it was Warren. And I love his answers, like, I do not know what to do, so I do nothing. That was to me, a very humble answer, though.
I mean, when it comes to let the market do his thing or its thing, but just do nothing, like when you don't know what to do, you just do nothing. I don't know if that is like a life lesson.
I think it's a very strong life lesson. I can give another example on where that works. I actually have a life story of this when I was a kid. So because I grew up in the forest will have a rule. Are you lost? Stop. Just stop where you are. Somebody's going to find you, right? So if you do not know where you're going, just stop. Don't do anything until you know where you're going. Someone's going to find you. And as you move around, no one can find you because you're never in the same place. So that's another life example that I can give you, where if you don't know what you're doing, just do nothing, you know?
Yeah, well, that one makes sense. If you don't know what you're doing, like maybe just stop for a minute and think about your next step. Yeah, I can take that one. But not
Ross, did
just
you know?
nothing. I don't know.
Yeah. Ross, did you know about the crisis of 1920?
No, I did not know. That was news for me.
Yeah, so there's this book called The Forgotten Depression, which talks extensively about this. And I find it incredible because it is part of American history, and I never met an American that have heard of that unless they read the book, The Forgotten Depression. So
They just forgot.
yeah, because it was very short-lived, and then after that you had the Great Depression, which lasts for 10 years. And that made, like, I think that is the depression that everyone remembers of whenever we talk about I think it's the fear that most Americans still have, right? Like whenever they talk about depression, they're afraid of that replaying again. That's my view from outside, though.
Yes, you are correct.
So the writer of the book is called James Grant. I'm going to just share my screen and share more information on him. He wrote a book called The Forgotten Depression, The Crash That Killed Itself. So let me just share my screen so you guys can see it. It's a book that I recommend anyone to read. It's a very short book. It's not a very long book. And he gives many speeches. So this is the guy. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
So this is the book. Let's see if we can click here. So this presentation, of course, is based on this book, The Forgotten Depression, 1921, The Crash That Killed Itself. The author is James Grant. He's still alive and he's still giving some speeches every now and then. He's an economist that I really, or historian, he doesn't call himself an economist, but he's a historian that I really admire. So let me see if I can go back and show you him on some videos. I can just get the book. Here we have the depression. There's actually a Wikipedia page here, Depression of 1920 to 1921. So it was a sharp recession in the United States, United Kingdom, and other countries beginning 14 months after the end of the war. It lasted from January 1920 to July 1921. The extent of deflation was not only large, but large relatively and accompanied decline on real productivity. So these are the numbers, the overview. Unemployment rate, you can see here. 1919 was 1.4, 2%, 1920, 5.2, 1921, 11%, 1922, 6. And you can see how by 1923, it was already very low, 2.5%. So when you compare this with the Great Depression, I mean, there's no comparison, right? You can see here the production as well. So like, there's a lot of numbers that shows that this depression was really bad. However, the government decided to do nothing. So, oh no, sorry, it was Woodrow Wilson. His low response for depression was criticized by those Republican Party capturing the White House. So it was him. And then this was Warren Harding, once to call Harding convene the President Conference on Employment Investigation. So sorry, it was Woodrow Wilson was the president at the time, and then Warren Harding took after, but they decided to do nothing. And guess what? The depression disappeared in a year and a half.
So it was the Democratic Party then.
Yeah. And I think it was hard for a president to do something when they saw that there was things were happening and curing itself. So this is the YouTube video from him. And of course, James Grant is part of the Mises Institute. So this is him here. Very skinny, tall guy. You can see the image of him here. I want to see if we can find a Wikipedia page of him.
Also, this President Wilson, he was the one who collaborated to make the movie about the KKK, right?
I think so, yes.
Yeah, it's him. He's a character.
There you go. So this is him here, James Grant. 78 years old. Let me now stop sharing. But that's him, and that's a depression that occurred before, and again, without any or close to non-government intervention, the depression just disappeared. And then there was another one in 29, and Roosevelt decided to take matter in his own hand, and in my view, that just prolonged the depression. And I think we're having the same situation now, where we have the crisis of 2008, and the government intervened, And I think, in my view, it numbs the symptoms of the depression or the crisis that should be happening. And we saw that trying to come back in 1914, 1915. 2019, 2014, we saw that trying to come back. And then it started to come back in my view, for those who are in the academy in 2019, we already have very strong signs of a recession. And then we got saved by COVID. COVID did not cause a recession, saved, because then the government continued to print more money. So in my view, whenever we have a recession, we're going to have the accumulation of previous recession. I think we still have to harvest the symptoms of the recession of 2008. We still have to harvest the symptoms of the recession that's supposed to have happened in 2019. And so whenever the recession now that we're having, I think it's going to be big. I hope not as big as the one from 1930s. I hope the government would have learned their lesson, but I don't see how we're going to get out of this one without a government intervention, which in my view is just going to make the situation worse.
I think they definitely are gonna do something.
Print more money.
Yeah.
What is your view, Ross? How are things in the US now?
You know, it's pretty interesting to look around and just people are, I don't know, people are acting like they're okay. When I say they're okay, but I know they're using debt, credit cards to pay for things. Prices, obviously, everyone feels the increase in prices with everything, but it doesn't seem like the average person has stopped spending either. So it's just quite interesting to observe.
People are still using debt with interest rates as they are right now, Ross. And I think they're using credit card debt, right?
Yes, absolutely. So that still hasn't, stopped the spending. And yeah, so it's just going to be interesting.
But do you feel unemployment going up in America, Ross?
That's hard to gauge because there are so many entrepreneurs now, that when I say people who are just doing their own thing, it doesn't mean that they're making a lot of money or whatever, but there are more people doing the side hustles, doing things, what they always wanted to do. And I know the government doesn't capture everything. So they're not going to show up in the unemployment number, right? And they depending on how they make their money, or whether it's a cash business, you just wouldn't know, right? They're making money though. So, but I do see that there are more people that have ventured into the entrepreneurial space, and that's quite interesting. So I think that's changed a lot, particularly since COVID. And since some of the big companies, some of the corporations, the businesses that wanted to call employees back into the office, well, employees got spoiled. They didn't want to do it. So they figured out another way to make money online so they wouldn't have to go to the office. That has been growing quite a bit.
Have you heard of General Dollar?
Dollar General, the store?
Oh, Dollar General, sorry, yeah, Dollar General, yeah. The
Yes,
store.
absolutely. Uh-huh.
You know what happened to them?
I remember they were in the news once, but I don't recall what's going
They
on
were
with
in the
them.
news this week or last week. Their stock is just plummeting. Look, 2 hours ago, just today, I want to show you. like I see a lot of signs of like the recession being here, guys. Like we had last year banks collapsing, but look at this. Why dollar tree stock down nearly 20% in one day? It was already over 50% for the year. So dollar tree is now going down, which is the rival of Dollar General. Say the shoppers are facing a tough economic environment. So sorry, the two companies are in trouble. So one is the Dollar General and the other one is the Dollar Tree. The Dollar Tree is also facing 20% of their things. And look here. The pressure on discount retail stock continues. Shares of the Dollar Tree, DLTR, which runs both of the chain of the same name and the Family Dollar line, were recently down 20% to levels not seen since 2015 after the company pulled back its financial outlook and reported disappointing quarterly results. Dollar General DG, meanwhile, was about 2% near the levels in which dropped after its own downbeat recklessly. Both companies say their shoppers are facing a tough economic environment. Dollar Tree Chief Operating Officer, CEO Mike Reardon, on conference call analysts on Wednesday to call one of the most challenging macro environments we have ever seen. So those companies are not seeing people purchasing their products. So you can see it's down 22% and continue to drop. And Dollar General also is down. So you can see here Dollar General. And when you look at year to date, look at this. It's a very strong decline. So not to mention the trucking companies are also going down. I see a lot of companies going down in America. So this to me is a sign of recession. That don't make the news for you, right, Ross? Dollar General and Dollar Tree.
I'm sorry, what was the question?
You didn't see that on the news, right?
No, I didn't. I did not see that on the news. So that's quite interesting.
Yeah, Dollar General is down another 48%. So, and I think those are companies that sells like to regular buyers, right? Those are retail stores. I think like
Yes,
Walmart's but the difference they sell supermarket stuff, right?
right.
You
I think
think,
I'm sorry, go ahead, Cor.
I was gonna ask you, Ross, if you think that's because they are blocking news there? So maybe you're not seeing some stuff, or I don't know.
Well, it's how do I say? I think in terms of food, people are really feeling it. And so when Dollar Tree, of course, everything at Dollar Tree used to be $1. Now I think it's $1.25. It may have gone up more. And I know there was a lot of pushback, with that. So and from consumers, I'm saying. And so we knew we were in trouble when Dollar Tree went up to $1.25. But it's just interesting. I know there are people, um, families again are coming together. I do see that, where multiple generations are living under one household. So that's something that's um changing as well. But I don't know. It's just like this weekend that for the holidays, I think every holiday travel weekend has been um, record setting in terms of how many people have traveled, right? It costs money to travel. So whether you're driving, or whether you're flying or hotels. And so this again, this past weekend, according to AAA, I think was another record setting weekend for, at least for Labor Day weekend. And so maybe they're just using, putting the money elsewhere is what I'm saying in terms of the spending. But I do know that there are a lot of people traveling, that's for sure. But everyone is still feeling the pinch in the grocery stores too. So it's the other thing that hasn't helped. I will say what people are complaining about, like in Texas, in certain areas in Texas, the high electric bills. That's another thing because of the heat. A lot of places it just stayed hotter a lot longer. So that's something that consumers are challenged with as well. But I don't know, it's just quite interesting.
I have to say, in Europe, the supermarket is, I mean, I feel very privileged. I don't have to worry about this, but I notice that my groceries are going up. Like, I'm here for 2 years now in Portugal. I came before this, but the prices have doubled. Excuse me. So what I would buy, for instance, I remember my groceries should be like 50 to 70 euros per week when I go to groceries. Now every time I go is over 100. So it doesn't really hurt me, but I can tell that things are going up significantly in price. Also the food I used to eat in a restaurant, a regular meal, and I very seldomly would spend more than 20 euros on a restaurant. Today, when I go to a restaurant, my bill is around 38 to 40 euros for the same kind of food that I used to eat before. So I can tell the prices are going up.
Oh, absolutely. Even with the fast food chains, not that I eat there, I have before, but it's definitely noticeable. So much so that when you actually can get like when a burger is $10, $15 at a fast food chain, you know, or the meals that used to be $6 or $8 and they're double now, it's like I may as well go to a restaurant, so people are noticing that for sure. Um, yeah, uh we had that experience with my family and I, just recently. There was a food truck that has really good, good food. We've supported them, but we their burger and fries are like $16 now, just for a regular single patty burger, nothing, with cheese. Yeah, $16. It's
For a
like I am
cheeseburger?
not, yeah, it's like I'm not gonna pay $16 for a cheeseburger at a food truck. I'm sorry. But but that's where the prices are, So it has gotten ridiculous.
But Ross, you understand that the guy on the food truck is not like overpricing you, right? He's like, his cost has gone up. You understand that,
Exactly.
right?
Oh, I know. I get it. And and again, because you know, I know it's really hard for, I'll say, sole proprietors, like him, like these people who run the food trucks and things, because I know I know it costs more for them than it does.
McDonald's.
I'll say exactly the other chain restaurants or other chains, so they're having to pay more. I do get it. So I don't know how long it's sustainable, let me say, but yeah, people are, yeah, as a matter of fact, I have a family member, they just spent, a couple spent $300 at the grocery store for a couple. They just spent $300 for two, and they're vegan.
Wow.
So no meat. They don't eat meat, and they just spent $300 at the grocery store.
On a regular store, not like a Whole Foods or like a regular
No, it
store.
wasn't. It wasn't a Whole Foods. Here it's HEB is real everywhere. That's what's known here. But they would have spent that almost anywhere, maybe a little less at Walmart, but Walmart doesn't have the same options either. So there are certain things that HEB carries that Walmart doesn't. So they spent $300.
300 for a week?
That
Or
will probably last them, I'm thinking, two. When I talked to them, they said that should last them about 2 weeks, maybe 2.5. But they clearly said no eating out for us at all.
But
So
even that is a lot. It's like 150 per, more than $150 per week. That is like 600 on
mhm,
food.
just on food
Like
for two
eating
people.
at home. Like it's not even eating out. Like on
That's
food per
correct.
month.
That's correct. Just on food.
That's really bad, Ross. That's
It
really bad.
is. Yeah. Yeah. So, but that's why I say it's kind of weird to see, because again, you have a whole lot of people that's traveling too, you
On
know,
credit
uh,
cards, Ross. This is
on
credit
credit
card. This is
card.
not.
That's it. That's what I'm saying. So the spending is still going on, but there are people who put in their groceries on credit cards, whatever it is on credit cards. So, but that's why I say, people have to live. They're doing what they can. Most people are. Uh, and mind you, I know actually most people aren't as disciplined either with a budget, but they've just accepted that it is what it is, and they just say, well, we're going to live we got to live. And that's what they're doing.
Wow. Yeah, I had seen like since COVID prices just like, and like, I mean, it doesn't hurt me that much. I mean, I'm very privileged that I can afford that, but I feel like because the salary of people are not going up, Ross. Their salary is not going up.
Right. That's correct.
Yeah. So to me, we are on a recession. In Europe, I already see the signs. I see factories closing down where I am. I see unemployment rising. Luckily, I live in a place where we don't have homeless people or beggars, but I mean, I see people like struggling. And now in summer, we don't feel it as much because there's a lot of Portuguese people. They're migrants. It's a common thing to go work abroad, right? So we have a lot of Portuguese people in Canada, in the US, in France. Those are the three major places. I think that accounts for like 70% of the Portuguese. And they come back here for summer. They have homes here, they have places here. So we see it's still like people eating out and whatever, but those people are not locals. The local population are struggling.
So would you say this crisis is global? It's not
it
just.
is,
Mm.
yeah. In my view, it's global. I was talking to the restaurant, the owner, yesterday or before today when we went to get the thing in the afternoon, and I asked her like, how was August? Because normally here where I am in Portugal, this area is very touristic. So for the restaurant business, most restaurant business, they sell in August, like half of what they sell for the entire summer, because it's the busiest month. And the lady was saying to me that this year was not as much. I mean, and we see her, we go there, right? Of course, there's always people waiting outside to eat. And we see a lot of people in order, but she say August is not being as high as they expected from. So they see a difference between last year and this year. So people are not spending as much anymore. I think because the European people don't have the same facility to credit cards as people have in America. Like once you get a credit score in America, you can buy a lot of things on credit card. Most people are addicted to credit card consumption. I'm not sure how's in Canada. How's in Canada, Maria?
Same thing.
The same thing.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I just put on my credit card, We don't have that here in Europe, but it's a very common thing in the US. Credit card, and people don't realize this, but credit card debt is like, the interest rates on credit card is above 10, 14% per year. I don't know how people survive.
It's 30% now. It's gone
Yeah, I
up.
was going to say it's like
Yeah.
22, 23, 24% here.
Yeah. It depends on which card it is,
Holy majoli.
isn't that crazy? It's crazy what's going on. But they're trying to squeeze us all out. I mean, both, it's kind of all part of the plan, you know? It's all part of the plan.
But my question is how people spend on the credit card with that what interest rates, Ross? What's going on with people's mind? Or Maria?
They don't even, I don't think the average person looks at the interest rate like that in terms of the actual cost.
Yes, you're right, Ross. Exactly. Yeah.
It sounds like Homer.
Yeah, it is.
That's a problem for future Homer. I'm glad I'm not that man. It's like that.
Well, they say Homer and Simpson, you know, have had shows just about what's going on right now, what's happening with Trump and everything. I mean, they've so-called first saw it, right? Yeah.
Have you guys seen that scene of Homer Simpson where I think he takes beer and something else and mayonnaise, and he shakes the jar, and he goes to drink, and his wife say, "Homer, if you drink that, you're gonna regret tomorrow because it's gonna be really bad." And he's like, "Oh, that's a problem for future Homer. I'm so glad I'm not him," and he just drinks. I feel like that's how American people feel with a credit card. It's like, oh, sorry, that's a problem for the future me. I'm glad I'm not.
Pretty much.
Yeah, you can see them in the store, Buff. They go through one credit card after another because they're declined, right? So, so you can see them pulling out one card after another because, and then finally one of them works. You know, they're just playing one against the other. Yeah, it's a very sad situation now. Less jobs, less everything. You know, it's very sad what's going on right now.
So I have a question for you, Ross. And I mean, we are recording, but I'm going to ask this carefully. Do you feel that there's a difference, ethnically speaking, between people behaviors with a credit card?
Well, that's a good question.
That is a good question. And I would say yes. And that is not surprising either, considering, you know, where we are here in America.
Because I just want to say blunt, I never saw an Asian person trying to see if a credit card works.
Yes, you're right about that. Yeah.
I never saw Chinese going through that for us.
And Europeans, a lot of Europeans go through that either, you know? Yeah, you're right.
But when you talk about people going through credit card, I think it's a lower class people in terms of the Caucasians, and
yes,
I would say Afro descendants are on that bucket as well.
Yeah, I don't know if Mexicans are like that, or you know, that I don't know, right? Or Spanish speaking, but it depends where they come from. But yeah, you're right about that. You're right about that. Actually, I never had a credit card until I was in my 30s because we didn't have it growing up. You know, you just paid everything with cash. And traveler's checks. I remember having traveler's checks when I was traveling and living in Europe. Traveler's checks.
They still exist though. Travel checks still exist.
Oh, do they? Do they still?
Yeah, some. I think American Express still issues them. Some companies still issues. Cora has no clue what that is because it's not her age. You don't know what a traveler's checks, Cora?
No idea.
Traveler's checks was a way for you to carry money that was harder to steal from you. So for instance, if you were in America, and let's say you come into Europe or you're going to Turkey and you're afraid of having your money stolen from you, what would you do is you would go to a bank, let's say with $1,000, and they would give you 10 travel checks, 10 $100 bills printed by the bank with your name on it, with your full name on it. So whenever you decide to spend that, the other company, let's say you pay a hotel in Turkey with that check. The check would have a number, would look, let's say it's an American Express issued travel check or Wells Fargo. The hotel would have a symbol outside saying travels checks, Wells Fargo accepted here, or travels check, American Express accepted here. And that would mean that they would take that check, which looked like a kind of a bill with different colors, and they would scan that for authenticity. They would recognize as authentic. Your name would be there. So in order for you to spend, they need to show your passport or your ID to prove that the name on the check, it's you. And then they would have to make the verification, take a copy of your document, and send that to the bank via fax at the time. And the fax would receive, and then they would have other code numbers, they'll have a call, and then a few days later, that credit would go to the hotel in Turkey. So if someone stole your traveler's checks and report stolen, they wouldn't be able to spend it because your name was on it. So it wouldn't be like a dollar bill that if you drop, somebody picks it up, is theirs. So it would be where you have a $100 bill that would be like on your name. So those were travel checks, was a way to say, okay, if you travel, there's less chance of someone stealing this from you.
Sounds like a pretty good idea for the time.
Yeah, I use travel check. I think anyone over the age of 40 would have used travel checks. I think if you're younger than 30, you have no clue what that is. I think
that is so true. I actually used to work for a travel agency that we sold travelers checks, our clients. So I'm very familiar with them. I never thought the day would come when we wouldn't be using travelers checks. So I'm surprised to hear that they're still around somewhere around the world.
I think there's 2 issuers in America. I think there's 1 or 2 issuers also here in Europe. I think Brazil they don't have anymore. I think some branches of Western Union still do something similar to travel checks. So they're not fully extinct yet. What is making it difficult is that more and more less companies are accepting them. But before, they would be like in every door of a hotel or a restaurant, they would have like travel checks symbols on them and which one they would accept. So, and of course, now somehow those are disappearing. It's not that the issuers are disappearing, it's just that if you have no one to accept them, there's no point in issuing them. So your company doesn't issue anymore, right, Ross? The company you worked for before.
I'm pretty sure they don't. It's been a long time, but everything has even changed within the travel agency industry because, again, people are booking their own travel now. So I'm not even sure if they're still in business now that I think about it.
Which is horrible, Ross.
Right.
Believe me, it's horrible. I buy tickets with crypto, and I'll say at least twice a year I got the wrong date, and I lose my ticket, which wouldn't happen with a travel agency. So
I would agree. There is definitely benefits having a travel agent for sure. Yeah, my family and I have brought that topic up, several times over the past years, even when we were traveling. It would be nice to have a travel agent handle all of that.
Yeah, the good thing with travel agencies, because they had a degree of liberties and flexibility with the airline company that you as a private person do not have. Like if you got your name wrong and you want to change it, you can't do it. Whereas a travel agency, would have the leverage to do a few things for you. So
Correct.
I remember I used to have like, I would just give like, I'll say, because I never like banks after Brazil confiscate all the money from the population. I remember I used to go like to my travel agency with 20 grand and say, here, 20 grand, put in your safe. Let me know when I need to give you more. When it comes 5 grand, I would just call and book my tickets. She would send me the reservation number, and that would be it. Like that time was the electronic ticket. She would give me a code. I would walk into the airline company, and everything was sorted. But now it doesn't exist anymore.
Yep, those were the days.
Yeah. Anyway, we're 5 minutes over, so let's call it a day. Enjoy the weekend holiday or the week holiday for you guys. See you guys tomorrow.
Thank
on
you.
Clubhouse. Thank you. And
Bye
try to find out more about the depression, Ross. You're gonna enjoy it. It's gonna be a learning thing. So
Good. I'm looking forward to it.